Nationwide strike in full effect as workers down tolls over minimum wage. CBN revokes Heritage Bank's operating license. Ahead of new farming season, stakeholders call on government to subsidize farm equipment for farmers. And on the international scene, South Africa heads for coalition era after the IEC declares election results. Hello and welcome to Trust News Update. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thank you for joining us. And now the details. Now, striking workers have down tolls across the nation as the Nigerian Labour Congress, the NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, the TUC, begin their industrial action over the hike in electricity tariff and a lack of consensus on a new minimum wage. While the National Assembly had stepped in at the last minute to avoid the industrial action declared on Friday, the discussions ended in a stalemate, leading to the commencement of the strike. In compliance with the order, some workers in several parts of the country were shut out of their offices. From Rivers State in the south region to Kaduna in Nigeria's northwest, the workers' actions grounded economic activities. At the Port Harcourt Airport, as early as 7 a.m., airport workers under the aegis of the Association of Nigeria Aviation Professionals, the ANAP, and the National Union of Air Transport Employees blocked access into the airport for vehicles. According to the chairman of the Rivers State chapter of the Association of Nigerian Aviation Professionals, Emmanuel Akaga, the passengers are still being allowed into the airport because the road leading to the airport connects to some communities. Federal government ministries domiciled at the Federal Secretariat Abuja on Monday, June 3rd, met the entrance of their offices under lock and key following the nationwide strike by the organized labor over the failure of the NLC and the federal government to reach an agreed figure as Nigeria's new minimum wage. Civil servants who had resumed work despite the announcement by the NLC were turned back and sent home, with some of them accused of being saboteurs of the collective action of labor. Trust TV's Sagir Ibrahim was at the Federal Secretariat to observe the compliance of the industrial action and brings us this rant.
Saboteur, who asked you to come? First time you say NLC, and you are sabotaging the efforts of NLC. Saboteur. Why are you here? We are all saboteurs. Saboteur.
We have our eyes everywhere. Who has the patrol? Our eyes everywhere. Our eyes everywhere. People are inside. I've seen folks inside. Please go inside and tell them to come outside now. You are not in labor attack. Look at you put on cap. It's true.
Why are you sabotaging? Why? Do you want to die in poverty?
Another development at the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, as members of the Nigerian Labour Congress have arrived at the premises to fish out civil servants who attended work today.
Why are you sabotaging?
So I'm currently standing at the Federal Secretariat here in Abuja to observe the implementation of the strike action declared by the Nigerian Labour Congress, the Trade Union Congress, to other organs of the organized labor over the failure of the tripartite committee, including the federal government and the labor, to reach a compromise with regards to the national minimum wage. Currently, we see civil servants stranded in front of their offices at the Secretariat as they have been denied access into the building. Two things they mentioned. First of all, they were not allowed into the building due to the commencement of the strike. Secondly, the Transmission Company of Nigeria has now cut out power to different locations across Nigeria as a result of the directive given to them by the NLC to commence strike, shutting down operations and downing tools across the country. It left to be seen what will play out in the coming minutes, hours, or even days. But as at now, I've been to the Niger Delta Ministry, I've been to the Ministry of Education and other adjoining ministries around this area, and the story remains the same. The strike has commenced in earnest.
Stay with Sager, who is joining us virtually from the Abuja airport to give us an update on the situation there this afternoon. Good afternoon, Sager. Yeah, so it's come to our notice that some Nigerians who have planned to travel, around the country, stuck in the airport. What's the situation there like?
Yes, indeed, Sumaya. It's indeed a situation. Frustration as a lot of travelers, converge here on the Nnamdi Azikiwe International or traverse different parts of the country, but unfortunately, they met the area of the airport sealed with men of the strike action that they had announced earlier. I spoke with some how long they've stayed waiting for hours, hoping that the airport would their different destinations. The time currently is around a few minutes past 12 o'clock. Some of them came as early as 6 a.m. in the morning to both within and outside Nigeria, but unfortunately they've been unable to do so because the NLC operatives have been here ensuring the facility until at least they hear, from the hierarchy. I spoke with a particular individual who traveled all the way from China this morning. He was here to Lagos, 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 here to Lagos.
All right, I think the network is a bit messing with us, even though we definitely want to hear more from the airport there. But I think subsequently would definitely come back to Sager to hear on the situation update. Now, moving to Lagos State. In Lagos, intending travelers have been left stranded as all entry points into the domestic terminal of the Murtala Muhammed International Airport are inaccessible. The entry points were blocked due to the industrial action called by the Nigerian Labour Congress, the NLC, and the Trade Union Congress, the TUC. In a which surfaced online, intending passengers could be heard lamenting over their inability to access the airport. The action has resulted in the suspension of all flight operations from the airport. As the negotiation on the minimum wage continues between the organized labor and the federal government, Nigerians are beginning to bear their minds. According to a resident of Imo State, the proposed 60,000 naira by the federal government is not enough to help Nigerians cope with the current economic challenges. Trust TV's Ajibade Priest tells us more in this report.
Residents of Imo State, southeastern Nigeria, are saying the federal government is not sensitive to the plight of the masses. They said the move by the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, to demand for better welfare package for Nigerians workers is a welcome development.
And there are many pharmacies are crying, many people are crying, and I think the minimum wage should be in Nigeria, let it be at least 100k.
Speak out about the minimum wage in the country because of the high rate of high prices of things like feeding and so on. So we are suffering for it. So I need to speak out about the minimum wages, that government should do something about it to increase our minimum wage.
Currently, when you look at what people are earning or are earning currently, it is nothing compared to the current economic status. Looking at the price of things in the market is nothing to write home about. People go to the market and they virtually come back empty-handed. So when you get your pay at the end of the month, and you go to the market, you end up spending almost everything, and you'll be left with nothing for the remaining part of the month. So I think the government should do something.
They said the minimum wage for workers should be 100,000 and above. considering the hardship facing the people across the country.
The current minimum wage is very poor. Everybody knows that. Even the average family cannot live on that. So let's say 100,000, it's fairly okay, not even okay. If you look around now, even with 60,000, you cannot go to the market and buy what you want. Not to talk of living on it for a month.
I think the minimum wage of this country should be up to at least 100%.
100,000?
Yeah, 100,000 and above at least, because with the high cost of things in the market right now, things are very, very expensive. Imagine someone collecting salary of 30,000 naira and things are very expensive. A bag of rice is up to 72,000 naira. At least if minimum wage is up to 100,000 naira, things will make sense. I think the minimum wage of Nigeria should be around that 100, 150 for everyone, including the sweeper. You see the situation of Nigeria now, things are very difficult for everyone. Imagine a pint of tomatoes is cost 11,000. Tell me, how will someone survive of this? If a sweeper is earning 20,000, how can they feed their family?
The people are hopeful that the Bola Tinubu-led federal government and the Labour Congress will reach the middle ground on the issue of the minimum wage soonest. This, they believe, will help Nigerians come out of the burdens brought on them by the ongoing economic reforms. Ajibade Praise, Trust TV News, Owerri.
Now moving on from Imo State to Plateau State, where our reporter Ado Musa would be joining us via phone call to give us the situation report on what is happening in just the Plateau State capital. Good afternoon, Ado Musa. Yeah, good to have you. So what is the situation report in Plateau State at the moment?
Well, at the moment, we can say that the strike action is partially complied with because if you go around the city center of Jos, you'll observe that some organizations, for example, I witnessed some banks operating this afternoon. I also witnessed some filling station dispensing fuel this afternoon. But when you go to maybe a government establishment, for example, when you go to courts, you see it locked, it's under lock. When you go to government establishments like the Federal Secretariat, and when you go to also the State Secretariat, all offices, they are under lock. So this is the situation in Plateau State.
So it's looking like it's not a total compliance in Plateau State. So we understand that the union task force is going around to ensure compliance. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, actually, immediately after the deputy chairman of Nigerian Labour Congress in Plateau State addressed members of the group as well as the journalists regarding their reasons to join the strike action, they move around to ensure that people comply with the directive. So they move from one motor park to another. They also move from one government organization to the other, just to ensure that the strike action is complied with. So they really move around to ensure that the strike action is complied with.
I know you must have interacted with the resident of Jos. What are they saying? Are they agreeing with the labor union's decision?
Honestly, almost a significant percentage of people who have talked to me this morning, they really agree with what the labor union is saying, because they believe that what the government is paying to the workers will not do them anything. For example, a lot of them are also citing example with today a worker cannot go to market to buy pepper or 100 naira pepper. A worker cannot also go to the market to buy 100 naira tomato, not to talk of maybe rice, beans, and other food items. So a lot of people are happy with this strike in the sense that they believe that probably if maybe this action is complied with, government is likely to at least make another adjustment. So people are really happy. They agree with what labor union is doing at the moment.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ado Musa, for that update.
Thank you for having me.
All right, moving on to more stories. The Central Bank of Nigeria, the CBN, has revoked the operating license of Heritage Bank with immediate effect following the bank's poor financial performance. The CBN, in a release signed by the AG Director of Corporate Communication, Halima Sidi Ali, said the action has become necessary due to the bank's breach of Section 12, subsection 1 of BOFIA 2020. Halima said the CBN has taken this action to strengthen public confidence in the banking system and ensure that the soundness of financial system is not impaired. She said the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, the NDIC, had been appointed as the liquidator of the bank in accordance with Section 12, subsection 2 of BOFIA 2020. This is Trust News Update. Coming up. Ahead of new farming season, stakeholders call on government to subsidize farm equipment for farmers. This and more after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, this is Trust News Update. Here's a recap of our top stories. Report your nationwide strike in full effect as workers down tolls over minimum wage. And CBN revokes Heritage Bank's operating license. Moving on to more stories. The Delta State Ministry of Secondary Education has postponed the 2024 Basic Education Certificate examination, earlier scheduled to hold on Monday, June 3rd, until further notice. This was disclosed to a journalist in a statement by the Permanent Secretary in the State Ministry of Basic Education, Augustine Ogoro, on behalf of the Commissioner for Secondary Education. According to the statement, the postponement was as a result of the nationwide strike declared by the organized labor over the inability of the federal government to reach an agreement with labor on a new national minimum wage. The statement, however, added that in the event the strike did not hold, the examination will commence on Tuesday, June 4th, 2024. Nigerians have called on the federal government to subsidize farm implements for the farmers and also help tackle the issue of herdsmen and farmers clash. Victoria Tokolo, who spoke to Lagosians on food scarcity, brings us this or more in this report. Take a look.
The price of food products is becoming unaffordable for Nigerians. In market survey by Trust TV, it was observed that food items like tomatoes, rice, beans, palm oil and melon are part of the most expensive at the moment. According to the survey, a derica of beans now costs 1,700 naira. 5 pieces of tomatoes cost 500 naira, with a derica of melon seeds, otherwise known as egusi, now costs 2,200 naira. In a chat with Trust Television on these issues, citizens bear their minds on what government and the people should do to make food more affordable.
Government should find a way to look for solutions to address the menace of herdsmen on our farmers.
We have to go back to agriculture because the situation of things now, everybody is facing these challenges. But however it may be, we have to go back to agriculture. We have everybody to be planting whatsoever is able to do. And the back of this, everybody's out. We have compulsory a space. Let us plant something there. Maybe or anything.
Nigerians, however, urge the federal government to subsidize price of agricultural products.
To restore people. So we ourselves have to be fair on ourselves. Yes, I know we are in business to make profit, but then as citizens too, we need to do it in a way that it will not actually affect our fellow citizens.
Government have to subsidize fertilizer for the farmers. We have to give them loans. Even the loans we talk about, the so-called loan we talk about in CBN, they are giving the loan to where now those who are in power, who are not even using the loan for the right channels, they are telling you to marry more wives.
It is believed that if government can assist the farmers with farms, implements and ensure security of farmers, opening of the border for exportation, much food with lower prices will be available for the citizens.
Researchers at the Nigerian Institution of Social and Economic Research, NISER, in the assessment of the efforts of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration in the last 12 months have projected that the Nigerian economy will witness remarkable growth in the years ahead. This was disclosed in a paper titled Prospect for the Nigerian Economy 2023 to 2027, where analysts predicted that better days for all Nigerians. Now, our correspondent has more details in this report.
The withdrawal of subsidy on petroleum products and unification of multiple exchange rate regimes have made the past 12 months difficult for many Nigerians as prices of goods and other essential commodities skyrocketed, thereby reducing the purchase power of the masses. This seminar, organized by the Nigeria Institute of Social and Economic Research, is an incisive short and medium-term assessment of socio-economic impact of the first term in office of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led administration with a view to preferring suggestions.
And the population is growing by 2.4%. Your ability to pull people out of poverty is already limited. You will only be able to scratch the surface. So if we go on this path with our population growth rate, we may not be able to achieve a broad, inclusive economic growth. So there is need for us to generate a higher growth.
Director General of Nigeria Institute of Social and Economic Research is of the opinion that while Nigerians are currently experiencing pains from the immediate effects of policy reforms, the projection shows improved performance in critical sectors.
If we continue in the trajectory that we're on, if we continue with these policies and introduce additional positive ones, it is very likely that things will get better. So, in summary, things are difficult now. We should be a bit more patient and look forward to a better life.
Other speakers say economic growth in Nigeria will be above 3% from 2024 to 2027.
Debate for other studies to crop up and take every aspect of those items on the renewed hope. Things like food security, poverty, eradication, rule of law, and so on. I think within the purview of what NISA can, in collaboration with others, do, and further extend this particular study.
So, but if we can continue on the path that we're going with necessary mechanisms to reduce the pains and the sufferings of the people, this whole program is giving us a that eventually things might actually turn out a lot better than they have. What we need to do clearly is to generate more value.
Organizers of the seminar hope that the report of this public study should be adopted to further address some of the challenges confronting the nation, while government should be more proactive by enacting policies that stimulate economic growth.
On the foreign scene, official results in South Africa election confirmed on Sunday that no party won a majority in South Africa's election as unprecedented coalition talks begin. 58.6% of voters cast a ballot in the parliamentary poll, which saw the ANC win a little over 40%. Now, according to Professor Patrick Bond, a political analyst from the University of Johannesburg, that leaves the center-left ANC with the dilemma of whether or not to form a coalition with the centrist opposition party, the Democratic Alliance. The ANC won 159 seats in the 400-seat parliament, down from the 230 it won in the last election. The DA increased slightly to 87 seats. There are 4 major political parties and in total 8 with significant shares of the vote after last week's election.
Real National Executive Committee crunch point for both ANC and the Democratic Alliance. Will it be to both of their advantage to combine with a solid 62% of the vote? Or would the ANC rather just scrape by at above 50 with a combination of small parties, possibly one of them, the fourth party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, or even reaching out to Jacob Zuma and saying, come back and we'll give you deputy president and your honor will be restored.
We know Cyril's leadership, and I think there's a lot more certainty in Cyril's leadership. We understand the way in which the policies have been created, and I think also Cyril will probably be more likely to collaborate with other parties and allow for this inter-party mix.
In sports, 8 remaining Super Eagles players will join the 15 early birds as the theme while the team intensify preparations ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifier against South Africa in Uyo. Ademola Lookman, who scored the 3 goals in the final to help Atalanta won their first UEFA Europa League Cup. Maduka Okoye, Bright Osai Samuel, Calvin Bassi, Frank Onyeka, Alex Iwobi and Paul Onuachu are the 8 players expected to join their compatriots from today, Monday, ahead of their 2 World Cup qualifying games against South Africa and Benin Republic in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. So far, 15 players have arrived and had their first training session on Sunday. Nigeria is placed 3rd with 2 points from 2 games in Group C, as Rwanda topped with 4, while South Africa occupied the 2nd position with 3 points. And with that, we wrap up a Trust News Update. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms and join our YouTube live stream for more news programs and documentaries. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thanks for watching.